Hello, today we are going to be making water lilies and a bridge inspired by the artist Claude Monet. Claude Monet painted tons of pictures of water lilies. The water lily picture that we are going to focus on is currently at the Met Museum in New York City. You can go there and visit it, but it's a really pretty picture of a bridge and water lilies and flowers and trees. It's gorgeous. So we're going to use that as our inspiration. All right, let's go into it and start. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to decide where we want to put the bridge. And since the bridge is like a really big part of the picture, we're going to put it in the middle because we want everybody to focus on the bridge. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about the shape of the bridge. And the shape of the bridge in the painting is kind of like an arch going over the pond. And we're going to do the same thing. So in the middle of your paper, you're going to draw your arch, which is basically a frown line. So in the middle of your paper, you're going to draw a big frown, just like that, or an arch. To make the sides of your bridge, because we're gonna have to add a railing so people don't fall off the bridge, and there's a railing in the painting, we're going to follow the lines of the paper. So the lines of your paper are going straight up and down, so the sides of our bridges, or our bridge, we're not making a lot of bridges, are going to be going in the same direction. So straight up and down. So at the end of this side of the arch, you're going to make a straight line that's going up. Same thing over here. And these are vertical lines. Then we're going to use the same type of line, the arch line or the frown line, to connect these two sides of the bridge. So from here to here, you're gonna make a big frown, and it's gonna touch both of those lines that we drew. We're gonna add a few more lines. We're gonna add 2 more. So on this side, we're going to add another vertical line. And again, it's following the line of your paper. So straight up and down. And then we're gonna add another one here. And you know what? We'll add one in the middle too. You can add as many as you want. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another line in the middle, and it's gonna be the same arch line. So like a frown. So from here, you're gonna have to go up, over, and back down, just like that. And now you have the shape of your bridge. Okay, so we're gonna add some of the bigger details, and then we'll go in and add the little details. So we're going to make the pond now. So what I'm going to do is from each edge of my bridge, I'm going to make a wavy line, and this is going to be for the side of the water or the shoreline. So a wavy line, it's going to go from my bridge and come all the way down and touch the end of my paper. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just like that. And they don't have to be exactly the same. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another line above it that's going to kind of mirror it, and it's going to make the shoreline look a little bit more 3D. So we're just going to bubble it in. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some rocks just to give a little bit of interest to the sides of the water. To make my rocks, because you usually see rocks on the sides of ponds and rivers and creeks. So I'm going to do some oval shapes, some big and then some small. And just put a few on the side. Just like that. And when I'm done adding my rocks, I'm going to start adding my water lilies. And water lilies are flowers that grow on these pads that float on top of the water. So there's lots of different shapes you could do. You could do the Pac-Man shape, which is the curvy line like a C. And then there's like a slice taken out of it, like a pizza. So like a triangle shape, kind of like that. Or you could just draw ovals, like we drew for our rocks. Or you could draw circles. So we're gonna add a lot of those. And some are gonna be big, and some are going to be small. And then the lily pads, as they get closer to you, they're gonna appear larger. So we're gonna make some big ones in the front, just to make it look like there's lots of space in the picture. Because things that are close to us look bigger. And lilies like to grow in groups or big families, so we're gonna fill up this water with lots of lilies. And then I'm gonna add some little ones over here in the back. Remember, when things are far away, they're gonna be smaller. Okay, perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna add some flowers to my water lilies. To make flowers for my water lilies, all you have to do is take your marker, your pen, your pencil, whatever you're drawing with, and then draw some lines sticking up out of the water lilies. So I'm gonna draw some curvy lines sticking up out of the water lilies, just like this. So curvy lines sticking up in a group. And we're gonna go over this with colors and it's gonna look really pretty. I just wanna show where my flowers are gonna go by just drawing some lines sticking up out of the water lilies. Then what I'm going to do is make some grass. When you're looking at a pond or a creek, there's usually really tall grass growing around it. So we're gonna add that. And there was definitely some tall grass on the shore of the water in the water lily paintings. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna add some grass. And I'm just drawing bunches of grass. So just like the lines we used for the water lily flowers, we're gonna do the same kind of lines, but they're gonna be taller because there's grass. Then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start adding some lines for the trees. So from the sides of the bridge, I'm gonna make some wiggly squiggly lines to make the edge of the trees. Or it could be the bushes or other plants going around. Just like that. If you want to make some tree trunks, you can. You can draw some lines sticking up out of those bushes or those leaves we just drew. So I did 3 on each side. They don't have to match. And then the same type of curvy, wiggly line that are kind of tight and small, we're gonna do the same thing up top, just to make the other side of the trees. Now, if you didn't want trees surrounding your pond, you could just leave it flat and have flowers. And you can draw whatever you want around your bridge, but I think I want trees. And when Monet painted this, it was in the springtime when all the trees had leaves and the flowers were blooming. So we're really not going to see the branches of the trees. We're just kind of going to see the shape of the trees with the leaves on them. Just like that. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bubble out my bridge. So I'm just going to make these lines thicker by adding a line next to each one of my posts. And then I'll do the same thing for the bottom of my bridge and the same thing for the top of my bridge. I'm just taking my time, just like that. And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start coloring. You can add the colors as you wish. It can be any colors you want. So you don't have to follow exactly what I do. But in his picture, the bridge is kind of like a greenish, bluish color. So we're gonna follow that and do the same thing. And then I'll show you how to color in the water. Okay. So let's make the bridge first. So it's kind of like a yellow greenish color. So we're just gonna go and see how this works. So I'm gonna pick this marker because I like the color. And I am going to draw, or color I should say, the post green. So those are the lines that are sticking up. I'll do the bottom green too, that bottom arch. And then I'm going to make the top yellow. And then I'm going to do the middle yellow too. I start adding my grass. And when you're making your grass, you can use lots of different colors for the grass or shades of green. So you could have dark and light. So I'm just going to go around and color in some of my grass. And you can make the same types of lines with your marker or your crayon or your colored pencil. Okay. And then so I'm using light green and dark green. All right, so I colored in my rocks, my water lilies, and my grass. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in the trees. And to color in the trees, I'm going to do the same method where I'm going to do dark greens and light greens. And I'm going to do a different type of coloring in. We're going to do the scribble method. And that just means inside of your shapes that we made with the lines, we're going to go inside and we're going to kind of scribble in the colors for the trees. And this is going to give our picture a little bit of texture. And it's fun to do. So I'm gonna do a dark green first, and then I'm gonna go over it with a light green. All right, for the water, I'm actually going to use a little bit of green. So I have all of my blues and greens, even a little bit of purple, and a little bit of pink. And these are the colors that I'm going to use for the water. And the reason I'm using pink and purple is because when Claude Monet was painting, he used a lot of pinks and purples in this picture to make the water and the reflections of the flowers in the water and the reflections of the trees in the water. So we're gonna do the same thing. So to make my water, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making, I use my light blue first. Just little lines of color in between my water lilies. And the reason I'm doing this is because when Claude Monet was painting, he used little splotches of color all put together to make the painting. And when we make our water like this with lines, it's gonna make our picture look similar in texture as Claude Monet's painting. So we're making lots of lines today. We did some scribbly lines, and now we're doing some dashes, or just little dots of color. And since these dots are over by the bridge and they're far away, they're gonna be smaller. And now I'm gonna go in, and it actually gives kind of the texture or the ripples of the water with my light green, and it's okay to go over top. Now, if you don't want to add these little dots or splashes of color, you could just color it in. But this is more fun. Okay, so I just finished coloring in the rest of my picture. I added some lines in the back for the texture of the trees. And then remember, when you're coloring in the water, just use dashes or splashes of color, and it's gonna give the illusion of the way Claude Monet painted his pictures. I left the middle open. You could add more trees or other details in the background, but I thought it might be fun if you want to draw yourself or your family, your friends, or a character on the bridge enjoying Monet's water lilies and his garden. And fun fact, he did have a garden where he did observe throughout the seasons and paint the water lilies in the ponds in the garden as it changed through the seasons. So in the spring, in the summer, the fall, the garden would change and he would paint it. So it'd always be different. And that's why he has so many different paintings of the water lilies, because he had a garden right in his backyard. All right, so now we're going to be adding some more details. So this is like a bonus. In the original artwork, there are trees in the background. There's no open space. I wanted to give you the option to leave it open, but if you want it to look more similar to Claude Monet's original, you can add a willow tree in the background, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And willow trees are those trees that have the long branches that kind of hang down, and they always grow near water or in watery places. Okay, so I'm going to take my greens, some light and dark, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to draw the tree trunk. So I'm going to grab a brown, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of close to where the water is, and I'm going to go up through the bridge, like behind it. We're giving the illusion that it is behind, just to make that tree trunk for the willow tree. And I'm actually going to do another one on this side. And willow trees are kind of curvy and bent, so that's why they're kind of like slanted up. So you can make it any way you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my green marker, and I'm going to make those branches that hang down, kind of like hair. And they're kind of curvy, and they hang over just like hair. And it's going behind the bridge. And again, that hair is coming out of the tree trunk, or those leaves. And then I'm just drawing those shapes behind my bridge. To finish my leaves, I'm just gonna make some dots of color on these vertical lines. And that's gonna give the texture of willow branches. All right, so I finished coloring in my branches for the willow trees that we added. And to give the texture of real willow trees, I went in and I just added those little dashes or splashes of color with my marker. You could do the same thing with a colored pencil or a crayon. And then I also went behind our other trees and just added some more dashes and splashes of color. And that's just to give the texture that is similar to Claude Monet's original artwork, where he uses those just little bits of color together to make the painting. Thank you so much for drawing with me and using Claude Monet as inspiration for this week's art, and I will see you guys next time. Happy drawing.